Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm gonna answer the top 10 most frequent questions about studying in America. I'm actually quite excited about this because some of these questions which I've written down are definitely questions that I asked for going, but I didn't really have an answer. But now after living here for 2 years, I'm so excited about answering these for you. And I definitely hope that these can be helpful. Without further ado, let's just dive into these questions and help you get some answers to some questions that you might have asked yourself. So let's go. This is the thing with the Stanley Cup too. Like, I don't know where to put it because it's so big, but now I need it because I'm addicted to it. So anyways, let's go. Question number 1. Is it easy to get American friends? I would definitely say yes to this question. I mean, I read before moving here that it's hard to get American friends. Like, you really gotta press into the culture. You gotta do activities that they're doing, etc. But Americans are so social. Like, they talk. Like, if you go out on a walk or if you're in class, like, they will just talk to you and they're so kind and they want to get to know you, want to hear more about you. I felt that I definitely had a lot of individuals who definitely brought me along. I guess, of course, it depends if like you're more of an introvert or extrovert. I would definitely say that I'm somewhere in between. I can be very social, but get tired very quickly. But I would say that yes, it is easy to get American friends if you also are open to getting to know them. I also think that this varies if you're like on an exchange program, because I heard from my other friends who went on an exchange, get to meet a lot of other international students and you might even interact with students from your own home country. I, on the other hand, had zero interaction with other international students because one, there were no one in my class that was international, and on the international student event, I only went to one because my main focus was to meet Americans and really be brought into the culture, meet American people, etc. So I definitely also think that it varies depending on like where you're choosing to spend your time. I chose to spend it with Americans and in the circles of Americans. So if you want to get to know Americans, I would recommend focusing on spending the time with Americans and around Americans, which sort of makes sense. Is the food all bad? I mean, in comparison to Sweden, I have to say that, I mean, yes, a lot of the food is quite bad. It's tricky to find a good salad place. It's tricky to find a restaurant that serves very, very healthy food. I think the American type of healthy is definitely different, at least from the Scandinavian type of healthy. That being said, you will definitely find a lot of fried chicken, fries, caramel sauce, cookies, donuts. It's not a super healthy place, but on the other hand, they do have a lot of fresh grocery stores. So if you're into cooking, I would recommend sticking to cooking here, because if you're eating outside, which a lot of people do, they buy a lot of takeout, the food isn't super healthy. Like, it's just not. But it's good on the other hand, so depends on what you're looking for. But I mean, it's American food. You'll find American food, that is true. Question number 3, what should I bring to the US, or what should I pack? And this is a tricky question because I would definitely say don't overpack, because you will buy new stuff when you get here. I think my mom told me that too. She's like, don't pack too much pants, sweatshirts, because you'll buy new ones. And I'm actually very proud about the fact that I didn't bring too much of that, because I mean, I've been shopping. So having that said, bring like the key items. For example, if you're into skiing, I would definitely recommend like bring some of your ski gear. Like, think about the weathers depending on where you're going. Bring some key items, but definitely don't bring too much because there will be a lot of shopping. So don't overpack is my recommendation. Next question. How hard is it to study in USA? So I heard from my friends and some research that I've done that it's not difficult to study here. I heard that like universities, at least in Sweden, are much more trickier and it's more heavy and difficult. But I would definitely say, I wouldn't say that it's hard. I would say that it's a different way of studying here. Like they have quizzes, they read course material at the same time. So at least coming from Sweden, that's not how you do it at university. Like you have one course, you have that course and then you finish it. That's not the case here. You read multiple courses at the same time. You have 2 to 3, even 4 classes at the same time. So that is very different. It makes it, as what I would say, like a bit trickier in that sense that you gotta really stay super organized and structure like you're studying. But I wouldn't say that it's harder than it was in Sweden, at least. Just a different way of studying. So that's what I would be prepared for. It's a different way of doing it, if that makes sense. How much will you be able to travel? I think this is a really good question because I definitely think that this varies a lot, like definitely based on your circumstances. I was fortunate enough to move here with my, at that time, boyfriend, who's now my fiance. I definitely was lucky with the fact that we had each other because that also meant that I constantly had someone to travel with. I can see that this can be trickier if you're coming to the States by yourself. Because for me and my fiance, we could just go travel. I mean, I think we traveled the second week we came. We started right off the bat because we had that, you know, a goal of ours to just travel and try to experience and explore as much as possible. That also depends on like your personality. Are you a person that's comfortable traveling by yourself? If that's the case, I mean, the American dream is yours, right? But just looking from like a student's perspective, it's always nice that you will be super flexible as a student. That's a perk. So, I mean, if you have, you know, the financial opportunity to travel, because it can be quite costly, of course, but you can always maximize that too and really plan for it and budget for it. But if you have the opportunity as a student, you will be super flexible, of course, because at least for my end, I only had 1 or 2 classes a week. So, I mean, if you know that you can stay structured at home and finish your work as needed and you're studying on time, you definitely have a lot of time to travel. So I definitely think that you have the time. It's more so just about, are you comfortable traveling with yourself, or are you coming here with someone, or are you gonna meet friends who also wanna travel with you? I think those things weigh in, but I was fortunate and still am fortunate to travel quite a lot, so I'm definitely thankful for that. Is culture shock real? This, for me, in the beginning when I came to the States, I definitely did not believe in this at all. I, in general, am not too much of a homesick person. I've never been like that. I've always loved exploring new things, going new places, etc. I ultimately thought that culture shock meant homesickness, but after some time, I realized that culture shock can mean something else, and it's definitely real. Culture shock is real. For me, the biggest culture shock was definitely, first of all, just a culture and the differences there. Coming from Sweden, we had a lot of shopping opportunities, and I know that this sounds very, probably, I don't know how it sounds, honestly, but that was the first thing I cried about because I only saw Macy's, Nordstrom's, like these big doors that didn't have like, I mean, they had brands, but it wasn't, like in Sweden we do have stores that are unique in their own sense. I would compare them to maybe Artesia or Aerie, but it's so different in Europe. So that was a major culture shock for me. The other culture shock for me was definitely different personalities. I mean, I've fallen for it, obviously, because I have a Stanley Cup. A lot of the girls listen to Taylor Swift. They wear Lululemon tights and like Uggs and Birkin. Like, that is so true, and it's so different from Sweden. I would probably never walk around like this in Sweden at all. I would definitely not have one of these, I can assure you that. I would not listen to Taylor Swift either, but now I do. So there are definitely some cultural differences, and some of those things were definitely shocking to me at first. But the biggest culture shock for me was the language. I have heard now that people actually, when they speak different languages, they have different personalities. This was a big thing for me that actually was a bit tough. I didn't feel at first that I could be myself when speaking English. Definitely felt that piece of not being able to like express myself fully, or being able to make jokes as much, or being able to fully just be myself. Now I feel like it's a lot easier because I constantly work on English. Like, I have a lot of friends and we obviously just speak English to each other. But in the beginning, I thought that this was super rough. I would definitely say that culture shock is real. The language barrier was the biggest thing for me. The other things with like the culture in itself, the pride of being American and the American flag and sports and all those type of things are just a positive culture shock, and language piece is now much better, and I feel super comfortable. So yes, I would say that culture shock does exist. How expensive is it, or is it as expensive as everyone is saying that it is? Yes. It is quite expensive here, just to be honest. The rents are just so much higher than at least they are in Sweden. The cost of living is probably a lot higher too. However, I would say that it's expensive if you don't have an American salary, or if you don't have a good enough savings buffered. If you have an American salary, it's also a lot higher than it is in Sweden, so you'll earn a lot more than you would in Sweden, and then the cost of living is actually lower than it would have been in comparison to Sweden and like the salary you have there. I mean, if you're coming here as a student and you're coming from another country where you don't get as much from your government, for example, it can be quite costly. So I would just be prepared for that and save before you go. Now we're coming into the last set of questions, so let's answer those. Should I wait to go to the US after I'm 21? Again, I would definitely say that this depends. As you probably know, you can't go out drinking on restaurants, etc. until you're 21. Not that maybe that is on top of your list of things you want to do, but if you're someone who wants to party a lot, go out on restaurants, etc., that will be a limitation. Also can't rent a car until you're 21, which is again just a thing to think about if you want to travel and you will need to rent a car. If you're younger, you won't be able to do that. You'll be dependent on someone else having a car, which might be tricky. But I think it definitely depends what you want to do and like what type of freedom you want to have. I would say evaluate that first, and then I think it will make quite much sense if it'll be more worth it to go after you've turned 21 or not. I went when I was 21, and coming with my fiance, us wanting to travel, explore together, that was definitely worth it, which we couldn't have done if we were 18. So my experience, it was worth waiting, but I can imagine that I would have had a really good experience being younger too. But since I also wanted to stay here and work here and create a life here, I think being a bit older did me good in that sense. And last question, is the stress load and work-life balance really that bad? Yes. Coming from Sweden, which is definitely a country who values, you know, fika and coffee breaks a lot, I would definitely say that the stress level and work-life balance is a lot different. I mean, to my experience, the American culture is very accepting of the fact that they want to work and they want to work a lot, and they all do if needed, right? Which is definitely different from where I come from, where it's like, okay, you end your job at 5 p.m. and then you're out. That's not the case here. Like, you definitely have to put in some extra effort. The stress level is higher, at least what I've experienced amongst the team, amongst myself. I also think that that is just the American culture, and there's obviously pros and cons to it. The pro with it though is that I would say that there's also a lot more flexibility here than what I experienced back in Sweden. So with everything bad comes something good. But yes, I would say that the work-life balance isn't as good. But again, you have a lot more flexibility, get a lot more money. So depends on what you value the most, I guess. But those were all the questions that I had today. I hope that this was helpful and maybe insightful, and that it might help you in some type of way. This is just my experience, my personal thoughts. Of course, it varies a lot from person to person, individual to individual. I actually really liked recording this video. I love to hear more about my experience. I think this was a fun way to do it. So yeah, I hope you guys liked it too. If you do, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any more questions, as always, please don't hesitate to comment, and I will do my very, very best to answer them as best as I can. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye. And now it's time to drink some coffee.